I decided to write a book about this because I always, there was always this running joke about every shit experience I had and all this fucking stress and all these moments of holy shit, life is shit. That the running joke became, this is all great content for an autobiography, because you can have like those meaty chapters in the middle somewhere where everything went wrong, but then you overcame your obstacles and became this big successful tennis player or whatever the fuck. And that was the joke. Something happened. Great story for my autobiography. But in my mind, an autobiography is always a life that is, at least to a certain degree, finished. So if you're talking about like some pro sports player, it's always after they finish their career. So there's a nice end to it. It's how they started, it's how the career went, and then it's how they wrapped it up. And now the good things to come in their retirement, basically. But with me, even now, I'm still in the middle of it. Maybe a little past the middle, but it's definitely not finished. So it was never an idea of, oh yeah, I'm going to write a book right now. It was always waiting for it to end. And then I could say, wow, I overcame depression. This is how I did it. And then you have like a book. So at one point I was working on some fucking song I wrote or whatever. And I never found a way to get my darkness out through a creative means, basically. And then I tried doing it by song lyrics, and then the song lyrics didn't work. And at some point I got so frustrated of not being able to communicate it to the outside world and not just like my inner circle or the people around me, but to some fucking guy listening to a song on Spotify in America. And because the songs ended, I just at one point thought, you know what? Maybe it is more interesting to write an autobiography, not when everything is finished, not when everything is resolved, but right now, just when everything is still happening, when there's still this weird thing going on in my head. Because there's a bunch of nuances to darkness. And you forget the nuances. So whenever you wrap something up, you go, oh yeah, I used to pick cigarette butts off of the street. But you kind of don't remember that when it's not actively what you're doing. So in that sense, it actually created some value for myself in writing it during my darkness instead of after. And then I thought, with all those nuances in there, it might actually create a better understanding of darkness, even for people who don't know me. So it's not about me. It's not an autobiographical piece that only concerns me. It's about me living in the concept of darkness. And someone could relate to that and actually maybe use my words to either, get something to click for themselves, or maybe it helps them put it in a way that they can explain it to their parents, their girlfriend, boyfriend, best friends, whatever. And I thought that was interesting enough to give it a go and just try and write something. So I just started. And I wrote 3 chapters in the first night. And the day after, I really liked those chapters. And then I just figured, you know what? I'm just going to keep on writing until I have nothing more to say. And worst comes to worst, I'm the only one who reads it. But then I did write something. I did do something. And one step above, maybe I could give it to my mom or my brother, and they could kind of understand me a little better. And best case scenario is I can, have other people read the book and maybe solve someone's darkness or prevent them from getting dark, or maybe it can explain something to someone else so that they can have a better understanding between the two of them and can solve it together. So that's basically where it started. And then, because everything has to be like a fucking concept and a thing in my mind, the other point was, one of the things is my financial struggle. And by writing about my darkness, and with all the good intentions of solving things for myself, for other people, getting the taboo of depression and darkness, either slightly lessened or maybe even destroy the entire taboo of talking about it and being open about it. It's also a book, and people buy books. So why not sell my fucking darkness? Because it might help me in the financial part, it might help me in the creative part, and most importantly, it might help someone else in a similar situation to me. Or it might help my mom, who doesn't get a fucking ulcer because she, all the stress and worries and she can't sleep. So that is basically what, those were the ingredients to the recipe of why I started writing a book.
That was a very long answer.
Yeah, it is. Inspired to just have this new thing and this new concept and try to figure out if I could write a book. So I thought about it when I went to eat with my dad, and on the bus ride over, I thought of this idea of why not write just a long format something and see what comes out. And then on the way back, I came up with the name and the concept of Darkness for Sale, which is, let's just use my problem and make it into a solution. And then I just sat down and figured, you know what, let's just try and explain some of the things away. And then I just started writing. I would love for darkness to be the base of a conversation people really need to have with either themselves or their loved ones about their state of mind. I think it's such a shit way to live, and it takes up so much time and energy and effort and years that the book is not going to solve darkness, and it's not going to eradicate it from the world, and it's not this magic pill that'll make you feel great again. But it could be one of the cornerstones in the conversation about darkness. So what I really wanted to do is create an understanding about darkness and what people are going through, so that they can find their way out. And another part of it is the taboo surrounding it. And it's not the biggest taboo out there, but it is a shit one to, it's quite shitty to say you're depressed, or to say you're dark, or to say you're feeling shit. And if this can, make it cool to talk about mental health, then I'm happily, contributing to that, to making it great. And there's a bunch of other things that already do that. So I'm just hoping to be, a drop in the ocean. But every drop counts. So I'd love this to help people who are dark, just to understand it better and get out of it. So that is what I would want darkness to do. And I fucking love it if it solves my financial shit. Because I'm really done with not being able to pay my rent. The biggest obstacle while writing this book, my life. Because it was a great idea to go, I'm going to write a fucking book and I'm going to sell millions of them and then I won't have any problems. But it's just fucking me behind a laptop. So my life didn't stop. I still had to pay my bills. I still had to live with myself. I still had to do all the fucking things that make me dark. So it gave me something to do, but my life is still shit. So the biggest obstacle is just living life. I didn't find any real problems in writing the book itself. That was one of the better parts of my day, to just, you know, sit down, do something that I love. But it did suck that one day I was, you know, editing some things I wrote, and I got a call saying that I had to pay some insurance company $700 that I didn't have. That kind of fucked up everything. And it also fucked up the writing process, because it wasn't when I hung up the phone that I went, well, let's just keep typing. It just screwed up 3 days and put me behind on my schedule, basically. Which I didn't really have a schedule, because it's just me and a fucking computer. But that was the most challenging part, just living through it, because I think a good thing about the book is it's written during my own dark time. But the problem with that is it was in a dark time. So shit still happens. I didn't uncover a lot about myself, because for me this is a story that I've been living and telling people for a good, let's say, 5 years. So actually typing it was more a formality. The book was already written because it was in my head. And it was the stories I've been telling people for years and years now. I think it gave me a couple of new things. And of course there's a couple of exceptions, which is specified in the book itself when I did find out something new. But it mainly gave me a new purpose, and it gave me something to look forward to. And that is something that I had been missing for quite a while, because everything in my dark life was either concerned the past or the present, and it was never a future. There was not a thing I was working towards. It was solving something from back then or surviving today. And now with the book, with how people are gonna react to it, how many books I'm gonna sell, if it's gonna help someone, if it's gonna save a life, if it's gonna save my life, if it's gonna help my mom, that is a experience I haven't had in a long time, where you look ahead and not just deal with like past and present. No. The book, writing it, I'll put it in a sentence. Writing the book didn't necessarily do anything for me. Apart from the idea that it might help someone else, or it might save someone a couple of years of darkness, because they're about to go through what I already went through, and because they have like a little manual or journal from someone who already did it, they can read the book and they go, I'm not going to go down that same road. So that the promise of that does fill me with some like hope or a good feeling. But all in all, it didn't necessarily change anything for me. It's a great answer.
Yeah, that's dark.
Yeah. There wasn't anything in the process of writing the book. Writing the book was not a discovery about my own darkness. It was, and it wasn't even journaling. Like, it wasn't like I was just writing down the day to day. It was just the experiences and the thoughts and patterns and behavior that I've lived for, let's just say that it's been slightly, like, no, it hasn't changed very much in the past 4 years or so. I guess that has been quite stably fucked. I was always talking about it, and I made it a point in my life where I always wanted to explain it to other people. And I did. I had millions of fucking conversations about it. And this was just the first time I decided, you know what? I'm not going to talk to whatever fucking drunk I have at an after party right now. I'm going to talk to my computer. And I just told the same story I've been telling so many people over the past years, but this time I just told it to my computer. And that's in a book. So to me, it wasn't about discovering a new story, and it wasn't about figuring out how to explain it, because I've been trying to explain it for a lot of years to a lot of people, but just under the wrong circumstances and without a sense of peace and quiet that actually gives you the opportunity to delve into a certain subject. And the book gave me the room to do that. So I could now I could pick apart my stories and my explanations and actually isolate them and just write it out as a single cohesive thought. And that is something I failed to do before in just trying to tell people on a late drunk night. So that is the way I wrote the book, and that is why I didn't necessarily find new revelations about myself. I've been working on the entirety of it, which is, I wrote it in English, which is not my native language. And then I translated it back into my native language, which is Dutch. And all in all, with the design of the cover and getting it to print and making sure everything aligned and whatever, has been 2 years. Like a full 2 years. I think people should read Darkness for Sale for different kind of reasons. I think if you are dark or suspecting you're dark, it might give you a sense of recognition in what you do, what I do, and maybe that kind of helps you out. Or it could be that you're starting on a path that I've already walked on, so you can, see what's coming, and that can help you steer in a different direction. And then that's like for the people who are either dark or getting dark. And the second group is just people who know someone and worry about someone in their inner circle who is dark, just to understand them a little bit better, or maybe understand the way their mind might work, or at the very least read about someone and see how their mind works and try and compare it with the other person. And then the third reason you might want to read it is just to see how this fucking guy lived for 10 years and see how I witnessed darkness. And it's also fine to read it and completely disagree, but at the very least it'll be about darkness, and there will be a conversation about darkness. So I think this is the way I see it, and in different ways I think it could help. So that's why I hope people read Darkness. A good friend of mine described it as, it's like sitting on my couch and talking to me. Then there was a slight pause, and she said, it's word vomit in a good way. And I think I would like to have that printed on the front of the book, because that is probably what it is. It's messy, it's sometimes incoherent, but it's also honest and important and real. I wrote this book in a dark time, and I think that is where the value lies, because it at the very least, is supposed to give you a insight into my mind, into a dark mind. But with that does come that the book is flawed, and as am I. But that is basically a part of it. And what I do hope, even though it might be, I don't know, it's self-published, even though it might be messy at times or hard, maybe even too heavy for certain subjects that don't necessarily seem heavy to me because I've lived them, I really do hope that the message of the book doesn't stop with the letters on the page, and that it moves past just those pieces of paper and actually, becomes a conversation in either just society or preferably between you and the people that need to hear it. Just so you don't get dark, so you can get out of this fucking shit place. And that is what I hope that it does. I'm not sure if I'm the fucking Nobel Prize winning author, but I hope that at least the words represent something that'll make darkness understandable to all. Being dyslexic and dark, I'm not necessarily known for perfection in spelling. So there are some problems with the book, in the sense that some shit is spelled wrong, or sometimes it might be, a well-written word, but it's not the one I meant. So there's flaws in there. And that sucks, because, when you release a book, you want it to be perfect. You want it to be immaculate, and it has to be this amazing, finished, perfect piece. But it's not. And I also kind of like that, because I gave it my all. This is everything I had. And yeah, I did a bunch of it while absolutely hating life. But I did power through it. And I mean, everyone talks about writing a book. I'm going to write a book someday. I have to tell this story, or I want to make a novel or whatever. And those people have great lives. I have a fucking shit life. And I wrote a goddamn book. And it's here. It's out. Did I make a few mistakes? Yeah, I did. But it's fucking here. And I did it while being dark as fuck and hating life. But I got through it. And I think that, to me, is empowering, even though it's not perfect. You know, there's some things wrong, but it's fucking here. And it's a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. And I fucking did it. So that's what I don't like about it, because I want it to be perfect and I want it to be this great work of literary art. But it is also real, and it's me, and it's everything I had. And it's all in there. The potential of what it can do. And it feels kind of, I don't know, delusional to think that my crummy little book that I wrote in this crummy little apartment is going to change the world, or is going to change the conversation about depression or whatever. And I'm not entirely sure if I can believe in that, but I do want to believe in that. So I do. And it might help. And it might change your life. And it might take 5 years off of someone's darkness. And it might give someone their 20s back. The ones that I lost. So that promise that my book can do that is my favorite thing about it. Well, it was good talking about it. It's fucking, I'm just happy it's finally here. It's been 2 years of hard fucking work, and this is the new chapter. You can go to darknessforsale.com and order your own copy and help me out a bit, and hopefully I can help you out a bit. Thanks.